Hello, 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 beautiful people, and welcome back. We are closing out our series Triumph Together Challenge. We are excited. I'm going to fly this one solo. So if you are joining me live, please do drop your city in the comments. I love to know who's here, who's riding the vibe with me. It's always a pleasure to be able to be with you all live, but I'm also a big fan of those who are here on the replay. So if you're listening on the replay, I love that for you, and I love that for me too. So excited for this opportunity to talk to you guys just one-on-one this week. We've had so many amazing co-authors join me on the platform to really talk through their individual chapters. But this week I'm going to ride solo, and next week we're going to close out the series, and we will have another guest at the end of the series. But I'm jumping ahead. As you guys know I do. I try to live my authentic truth. I want to make sure for anybody who is joining me for the first time in the Triumph Together Challenge, welcome. I'm really excited that you chose to be here with me today. And for those who have been riding this challenge for a while, thank you. Like, this has been such an amazing experience, and I have felt nothing but growth and community as a result of participating in this challenge myself and all of the feedback that you guys have given. So a couple housekeeping items. We have one more week of the challenge, and then we're going to close out with our guest, who's going to be the winner of the challenge. So the winner of the challenge, if you still have an opportunity to participate, to jump in here with us, the winner of the challenge has done a couple of things. So you can do these things just this week, and then you can still participate, because each chapter is its own individual treasure trove of gems, as you would have it, of stories of triumph from Black professionals in the workplace and their navigating success. So all you have to do in order to participate in the challenge is, number one, you have to be following me on LinkedIn. Simple. Number two, you have to grab your copy of the Triumph in the Trenches anthology. I have my hard copy here. You guys know, you see it in the background with the actual hard copy books. And then the ebook is also available on my site. You can grab that at gemsforthejourney.org/triumph. Then once you get your copy, you just have to meet us where we are. So this week, we're going to be talking about chapter 19 and 20. Next week, we'll be talking about chapter 21 and 22. And those will be the last two chapters in our series. But I want to make sure that folks feel like they have the opportunity to participate, because you can still go back and read the book. We're going to have lots of additional broader dialogue discussions, and you can still win the challenge just by being engaged this week and next week with this content. No one will be left out. And then finally, you have to join the Career Gems for the Journey newsletter. That's really simple. It's also on the site, gemsforthejourney.org. You just have to sign up for the newsletter. That's how we will communicate with you. You'll get all your emails, all your updates, all of your details. So please do take advantage and join us in the challenge. And before I jump into today, I want to say happy Juneteenth Eve. Happy Juneteenth Eve. So tomorrow, as of this recording, tomorrow will be June 19th, 2024. Juneteenth is an annual celebration that has now become a federal holiday. And the reason why I have my head wrap on today, and the reason why I am rocking my big hoop earrings, is really in celebration of the Juneteenth holiday. And Juneteenth talks a lot about, it hasn't been talked about enough. I'll say that. Hasn't been talked about enough, but I'm glad a discussion is being had. And it is essentially in Galveston, Texas, almost 2.5 years after the Emancipation Proclamation was signed by President Abraham Lincoln, there was the word that the slaves were free had not gotten to all of Texas. So in 1865, in Galveston, Texas, a full 2.5 years after the Emancipation Proclamation had been signed, word got to those who were enslaved individuals in Texas that their rights had been restored and that they were free. And that was on June 19th. So a little bit of tiny history lesson there. I'm not going to go all the way into it, because I actually have a post that you're going to see tomorrow on LinkedIn that talks a little bit more about it. And it gives a big shout out to Opal Lee, who is called the grandmother of Juneteenth as a result of her steadfast efforts to get Juneteenth made into a federal holiday. and her work was recognized by the current administration, and that just became a federal holiday in my lifetime, which is, amazing in some regards and unfortunate in others, because the opportunity to be able to acknowledge all of our history and all the tapestry that goes along with it is something that I'm really passionate about. And my fear is, if we don't do the work to acknowledge it as the current leaders in professional settings, in everywhere we are, then these historical markers, these celebrations, these acknowledgments will go away. So happy Juneteenth Eve. I hope you all are celebrating. I hope your organization has chosen to make sure that it acknowledges the federal holiday, and that you can celebrate with members of your community and learn a little bit more about the Juneteenth acknowledgement as a historical fact. And then you can inject some Black joy into your life as a triumphant celebration for those who've come before us and labored on our behalf and built this country, built the United States of America. So that was a little bit of a departure, but I wanted to make sure that I acknowledged and said happy Juneteenth to everyone who celebrates. I will 100% be celebrating tomorrow as well as this weekend with my own community. So I'm excited for that, and would love, if anybody else has their own celebrations happening, drop a comment on this video, drop a comment on LinkedIn, and then we can kind of work together and just hear how we're celebrating. And I'll ask you to do that in my post tomorrow. So now let me jump into the Triumph Together Challenge chapters 19 and 20, which is what we're going over this week. I won't be with you too long. So this will be a great episode that you can share. This live is something that you can share with other people, because it'll be short, it'll be sweet, it'll be to the point, and it certainly will pique interest in this discussion, because our two co-authors, or my two co-authors in these two chapters, really opened my eyes and expanded my horizons. So Ansar Salil is a retired military veteran. He wrote chapter 19. He is a former communications and information officer in the United States Air Force, and leverages 4 years as an assistant principal at Camden Technical Schools for 13 years, and in Willingboro Public School District. So based out of New Jersey. He's currently completing a doctoral studies at Wilmington University, focused on innovational leadership, organizational leadership, and innovation. So just the credentials, they speak for themselves, but the storytelling in his chapter, in chapter 19, was absolutely phenomenal. He just talks about how his experience in the military required him to learn a different way of leadership. So his chapter is titled Invisible Leadership. And this idea of invisible leadership gave me two really, really major, amazing takeaways. Number one, it told me that bias will come in all parts of where we work, all parts of the total universe, right? Even when you think you're in a community of people that are like-minded in a lot of ways, there's still a chance for those individuals to hold some bias, and you can't control that. And I needed that reminder. I needed the reminder that you can't control others' bias. You can't control how people react to you. Your job is to simply exist, is to simply be yourself, navigate spaces, treat people well, and then let your gifts make room for you. So that was my number one takeaway from Ansar's chapter, that he really encouraged us to acknowledge that yes, bias will exist, but there's no way that we can always combat it or get ahead of it or work around it. Sometimes we just have to simply exist and do our part. And in that work, we will see the impact of our efforts. So that was my number one takeaway. My number two takeaway from his chapter, which really sat with me in a 2024, what does the next 10 years, what is the next decade of my own personal leadership style? What does that look like? Because he talks about invisible leadership and how he had to use the tools of influence in order to lead other people. Because him being the direct controller, the direct person who was communicating, giving commands as someone who was ranking in the US military, was not going to work because of the bias of others. So he really fine-tuned this skill of influence and working through others so that he was still able to have a tremendous impact in the branch of the military that he was functioning in, but without it being on display. So he used influence to make other people feel more comfortable with the right things being done, as long as they weren't coming directly from his mouth and he wasn't getting credit and acknowledgement for it. And when I tell you that I had to sit back and really think, is it necessary for me to have credit in all of the situations? Do I benefit from allowing someone else to have the credit, as long as the value is brought, as long as the right thing gets done? And it was a real challenge to my ego. So, and he talks about his own ego in the chapter. Just a phenomenal kind of step through of, if you're really truly a leader and you're looking for the impact to be had and the people who report to you to benefit from your guidance and your leadership, do you need to be the one that gets the credit? Now, you guys know I talk a lot about audacity and acknowledging your own wins, celebrating even your small wins. And that's really important in order to sustain us as we navigate these environments, be it corporate America, be it academia, be it government service, be it military service. It's important to make sure that you acknowledge the work that you do and what you bring to the table, for the most part, because it ties directly to compensation. It ties directly to how you will be perceived in your organization. It ties directly to the value that can come back to you from the labor and the hard work. But oftentimes, it's not necessarily that leads, depending on what season you're on. Sometimes, in order to navigate an environment, it has to come through covert or less direct tools. And influence is a huge tool that I believe is an area that we can always continue to sharpen. And when we collaborate, when we are able to learn from and work through other people, it gives us the ability to set our ego aside and really set out to focus on what that higher good, that bigger impact that is necessary, and why we may need to set ourselves aside and our own ego aside in order to have the impact and the outcomes that we're looking for. So I'm telling you, you guys should absolutely grab your copy of the book and you should read his chapter 19. He brought so many good, really thoughtful approaches to how we can navigate our own ego and use influence as a tool to get our ideas heard, actioned against, and get other people to collaborate. And maybe that only works when you are not the face of the idea. And we know as Black professionals that oftentimes we have to have a partner, we have to have a plus one, we have to have a collaborator in spaces, because there is a misconception or because of the bias of others. So we've done it, right? I know I personally have done it, and I know that it doesn't always sit well with me. So when I was reading the chapter, it really stuck with me to think about what's the greater good and the impact that I'm trying to achieve, as opposed to bringing myself additional acknowledgement or notoriety, because I think it comes down to there's a time and a place for both. So it really depends on what you're trying to accomplish and what strategy that you'll employ in order to accomplish your goal. So absolutely love that. Two key takeaways from that chapter. Now on chapter 20, we heard from Audrey C. Durant. So Dr. Audrey C. Durant, MD, okay, medical doctor, pediatric surgeon, wrote an amazing chapter that really opened my eyes on the other side of medicine. As she's training to be a pediatric surgeon, she takes us through her experience educationally and what she navigated and had to face in order to achieve the version of success that was most important to her, in order for her to achieve her dream of becoming a pediatric surgeon. So the top two takeaways for me from this chapter, oh my gosh, the first one was, when you set a dream, when you are given a vision, when God implants a vision in your spirit, and you have decided that I'm going to follow that vision, there will be adversity no matter what. And the vision is what continues to keep you disciplined and guide you forward. The vision is also what tells me to keep going back to God, to make sure I'm reinforcing the vision and I'm maintaining on the path that I need to be on in order to get to the version of success that God has for me. And that my work, my labor, my time, my effort, my energy is all guiding me towards this broader vision. So it really helped me to be reminded that the work that I'm doing and the work that each of us are doing should be in service to a cause that we are committed to, should be in service to a vision that is bigger than the day-to-day. Because if it's just the day-to-day, we'll all get distracted. We'll all get frustrated. We'll all be thinking about throwing in the towel often because the day-to-day is frustrating, right? Like the day-to-day of being an entrepreneur, the day-to-day of being a physician, the day-to-day of being a military officer, all of those things, sometimes the days feel very long. But when we're reminded of this bigger goal, this bigger audacious version of success, this bigger vision, it keeps us committed to the work. And it also allows us to say, I don't have to work this way, right? As long as the vision is leading us, then how we get there is fluid and it's flexible. And it gives us permission to say, this way is not working. I'm going to go another way. And the vision will still be realized. I'm just going to do it in a way that feels better for me now, or that is aligned to the resources and tools that I have now. So that was my number one takeaway, is the vision of success, the vision of that goal that you're working towards is the most powerful tool that we have to navigate the adversity that is inevitably going to come our way. And the second one is that, again, we think about certain fields, and I personally think about certain fields as having more or less equity than others. And medicine is one of the fields that I knew just by observing the number of doctors that are diverse, the number of doctors that are women, the number of medical doctors that that hold certain titles and roles in hospitals and institutions. I knew that there still is a problem with diversity and inclusion and equity in those fields. And what Dr. Audrey C. Durant did in her chapter was help to illuminate the adversity that she faced, but take it a step further as she escalated her concerns to leaders in the organization, in the university that she was studying in the hospital system, I should say, as she escalated those concerns, how escalating those concerns can have a direct impact to your ability to stay in an organization. So what it triggered for me is sometimes the choice is to fight the fight, and sometimes the choice is to choose your peace. And that was my takeaway, right? We are often confronted with difficult circumstances, difficult situations, and we are applauded for being resilient. And I believe resiliency is necessary just to exist in the world. Specifically as a Black professional, you must have the resiliency in order to continue to navigate. And that's what Triumph in the Trenches, Navigating Success for Black Professionals. And I'm looking at my hard copy on my desk because I'm holding my copy as I highlighted and went through each one of chapter 19 and 20. It's absolutely necessary to have the resiliency, but there's also some times where we have to choose our peace. We have to choose ourselves. We have to choose our health. We have to choose our well-being. We have to choose the things that matter the most to us, the things and the people that matter the most to us in order to continue to navigate life and continue to focus on our top priorities. And sometimes that requires us to acknowledge that vision, but to go about it a different way because we have to choose ourselves. And I love the saying that, you hear it on the airplane all the time. Put your own oxygen mask on first before you help someone else. And to me, that is the highest definition of you have to choose yourself first to make sure that you are around, that you are available, that you can sustain yourself, your health, your overall well-being, your mental health in order to continue to pursue this vision and this passion that you have. So at any point, if the cost of your vision becomes your health or your mental health, or even your relationships that you hold most valuable to you, then it's a time for us to check in, to reevaluate, to decide whether or not it's time to fight the fight or go about it a different way, choosing ourselves, taking care of ourselves, sustaining ourselves first, and then living to fight another day, surviving to continue to go on to serve in a different way or a different capacity, to show up for ourselves. So 4 key takeaways. I absolutely enjoyed reading my co-author's chapters, and you guys will see more when you grab a copy of the book, because you absolutely should. For every single Black professional who is working in corporate America, nonprofit leadership, academia, government service, military service, you name it. We have covered every single sector in this book. We've covered every single discipline in these 22 chapters, and the stories, the texture, the storytelling, just the sincerity of the words in this book will not only inform you, but they will also inspire you. And those are my takeaways, that I felt informed. I feel like I've learned. I feel like I've grown in the midst of this challenge, but I've also felt very inspired. I felt very inspired to be creating a community of people with my co-authors, but I also felt inspired by I am not alone. And I believe that that is going to set someone free. I'm not alone in my concerns. I'm not alone in my challenges. There are other people who are experiencing the same things, and they've developed and given us some gems, some strategies for how to navigate these things, as we know they will continue to come up in these professional environments. So I absolutely had an amazing experience reading these 2 chapters, and I hope you will join me next Tuesday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will be back here and we will go through our chapter 21 and 22. Those are our last 2 chapters in the Triumph Together series. We will also announce the winner of the challenge. And when we announce the winner of the challenge, you guys will get to see them on the live. So the live that they will join me for is on June 30th is our, I should have this date in front of me. And my assistant is going to fuss me out, and she should, because I got my dates mixed up. I got my calendar misaligned. So next week is our final live, and that'll be on June 25th. And then we will have an additional live on July 2nd. That July 2nd live will be this live that the winner of the challenge joins us for, and that will really complete the whole matter. And there's still so much to be offered from this Triumph Together challenge. As you know, you have the opportunity to go through and think more and more about how these chapters and how these individual experiences relate to you and your own story. I would love to hear your comments. I would love to hear if you joined us midway through the challenge or you're just joining us now. Are there some critical things that have been helpful for you during this experience? Because I think there's so much. It's been such a rich experience for me, and I know that there's value in that for you. I know there's gems for each of us. So with that, I will ask you to join me next Tuesday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will close out our chapters, and we will have some co-authors with us for that series to close out the series. And then we will announce the winner of the Triumph Together Challenge and invite the winner to join us on our first live in July. And then we're going to take a little bit of a hiatus from lives in the month of July. We're going to take some vacation. We're going to take some downtime. My team and I are going to take an opportunity to relax, to simply rest, to simply exist, and to simply focus on bringing you new and amazing content. And we'll pick that back up in August. So we hope you'll join us for these last 2 lives before we go on hiatus. And we look forward to seeing you next Tuesday, 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And you can always catch the replay on LinkedIn, or you can find me on YouTube, and you can take an opportunity to just download, listen to the audio, watch the video, and give me your feedback there. I'm taking comments in all those locations. So it's been amazing to be with you here today. Until the next time, make your journey work for you, and don't forget to join us in the challenge as we triumph together. I will talk to you soon. Until then, make your journey work for you.